Hey y'all, welcome back to Intellectual Dopeness.
Awakening Minds from Hypnosis.
And today we're going to be talking about Black empowerment. We're going to be talking about how we need to empower ourselves, love ourselves, and not be so guided by the media, guided by the music, because this is what's creating those stereotypes for everyone to look down on Black people as if we are not who we are, and we're kings, we're queens, we're goddesses, and we're gods, and we create, and we're the real human race. We have to be able to put that out there with our energy, with the way that we carry ourselves, with the way that we, just move and have that confidence within ourselves of who we really are. So that is what today's topic is going to be about. So, first and foremost, I feel like the main key is not feeding into the propaganda, not feeding into the media, not allowing, the images of white people, or the images of, how they make Black people look in movies and music. And, it's like we feed right into that, though, because we think it's literally so cool to be able to just be, that thug life mentality, which, we come from that and we embrace it. But I feel like propaganda has made us embrace that type of attitude, be thugs and fight and, hate and not really express the love for your fellow brother, you know what I mean? And so, we watching Scarface and watching mob movies and, watching all these things that we appeal to because, naturally Black people, a lot of times we come from those environments. We come from the hood. We come from these places where, this is what we see. So we identify with that type of lifestyle. But at the end of the day, we have to know that we are better than that. We can bring our brothers and our sisters up, So, what do you think about that, sis? Because I'm just so sick of turning on the TV and them, making us look so bad.
That's probably why we don't turn on the TV.
Right?
But I feel like it's important for us to understand, if you pay attention to, I consider myself a pretty well-rounded person. I like all different types of music from all different types of genres and, anything. So one thing that I've noticed is if you pay attention to how reality is shaped for Black people versus for white people, it's two completely different realities. Like it's so, the spectrum of scales is so opposite when it comes to that it's just like, it's kind of intriguing. So it's like everybody goes off of media and what they see to determine how a race is or how a race interacts with other people. But we have to understand that these things are purposely being put into place so that we don't recognize our own greatness. So it's like, like I've said before, if I want something of substance, I have to go listen to a different type of genre music. In order for us to be great and to be who we are sent here to be, we have to acknowledge the things that are put into place that are meant to purposely throw us off track. And once we can do that, we can help enlighten ourselves to raise to a higher consciousness, because we're not allowing all of these negative things to be the reason why these things to, feel like this is how we have to live our life. That's how we have to live our life. We shape our own reality, but as long as we're allowing these outside influences to play the major role in how we view ourselves, we're going to always come last and we're going to always fail at everything we do.
It's so true. I mean, if you think about the stereotypes that's out there about Black people versus, other races. When you think about the stereotypes that are for Black people versus white people, like, they just make it seem like Black people are just animalistic and, we're murderers, we're to be feared, but in reality, if you look at the history, the honest, true history of the race that may be the most dangerous, you know what I'm saying? It's not Black people, you know what I'm saying? It's not Black people. So it's like when we think of white people, we think of square, corny white boys, you know what I'm saying? Or we just think about, harmless, but in reality, that is a stereotype that's created to protect them, so that way we feel like we don't have anything to worry about, that we shouldn't be threatened by them, But in reality, because they've always been the people out there that has taken black people and have created a certain environment for us so that it makes it hard for us to succeed, for us to get to the next level, you know what I'm saying? And just enlightenment of spirituality and understanding, getting in tune with your higher self. Like everything is out there to steer us away from that, So the reality of it is when we look at the stereotypes, we have to reevaluate, like, are we feeding into these stereotypes? Because once these stereotypes are set, then we just jump right on the bandwagon with the stereotype because like that, that's what identifies and lets you know who you should be as a person. That's why it's so important for us to find out who we are and not identify with any stereotype. We have to find who we are as individuals so we can continue to break the stereotypes and the ideas that these people have of us. But at the end of the day, it ain't for nobody else. It's for ourselves. Exactly. It's for ourselves to uplift who we are and that we can come along. And when we start loving ourselves, we'll start loving our brother. We'll start uplifting them and bringing everybody, together so that we can make something of our community. Because when you look at every other race does not have the problems that we have. They have unity. They have togetherness. They have their own economic interchange within their own race, but us, we are just so disconnected from each other, and it's always, that competitive spirit in the black community that we have to break away from and know that it's important for us to come together,
And I think it's also really important to take under consideration that the mind is programmed from the very beginning to subconsciously view black as a bad thing or a bad color, or it's like your brain is already subconsciously programmed to associate bad and black and white and good. And I was looking on YouTube and it was like some baby doll thing that they had going on. Like they had baby dolls and they was asking like toddlers questions about, which one of these dolls is good, which one of these dolls is bad, which one do you associate yourself with, and all these different questions. And pretty much at the end of the survey, like all of the little kids associated the black baby doll as being bad or not good, and the white with being good. So it's like we have to take under consideration that why would they fight so hard to program the brain in an early stage to view black as a bad thing? And then they associate 666 with the mark of the beast. 666 is the makeup of melanin, 6 neutrons, 6 protons, 6 electrons. So you're telling me that I'm the mark of the beast because of my skin, which gives me information because I can download information from the sun simply by stepping outside?
Preach, goddess, preach!
I'm just trying to understand.
You speak that real shit. I'm sorry. You got me a little hype right there. But think about it too, because in America, we are the only race that identifies with color. Oh, I'm black. Oh, I'm white. Oh, I'm red. I'm yellow. Like that shit is for the birds. Exactly. Like every other nationality or race of people in the world, they are identified with tribes. They're identified with their culture, with their people. They're identified with other things, not just the way their skin color, is reflected to a Caucasian, you know what I'm saying? Like, because those are the people who have created this system for us. So in the reality, it's not about racism when you identify who is the oppressor, you know what I'm saying, in our existence. So it's like we can't help to identify that with a Caucasian person because those are the people who have gone into other countries and have taken over, and whatever indigenous people were there were slaughtered and enslaved and taken advantage of and taken all of whatever their inventions and everything. Like, they have taken credit for every people in this globe of people and have taken credit for those accomplishments of those in particular cultures and races.
And completely wiped out the race as a whole. It's mind-boggling the way, you will see movies about, what was that last movie that came out, the Gods of Egypt or something like that. And I'm sorry, but
not one black person.
Africa. So I'm trying to
Exactly.
figure out where are my people at. And it's not like we're not trying to make this about race, because at the end of the day, the race war is a way to divide and conquer, and they still win. The fact is, we want our people to know who they are and where they come from, so we can see the systems that are in place that are meant to hold us back, so we can break free from that. That's not what they want. You know what I mean? I got so many people that are nice and friendly and I love to death, and they're white. So it's not like we're like trying to bash white people or bash anything or anybody. The fact is that we need to be aware of the reality. And the reality is that we are being oppressed by people that don't want us to know who we are. And so the question we have to ask ourselves is why? Because once we realize our own fucking power, it's game over.
Exactly. That's a good question, because people don't even ask why. Like, they just take things for face value and they let somebody set your truth. Like, you got to ask questions why, so you can create your own truth and not allow anyone to come along and tell you who you are, exactly, where you come from, what your history is, where your culture originated from. Like, that's for you to find out for yourself. You know what I'm saying? You can't allow.
There's power in knowing. There's power in knowing who you are and where you come from. Because when you know who you are and how great you are and your true history, you're not going to be offended by some dumb motherfucker saying, oh, let's make America great again. Because you already know
what contributed to America being great. So you won't even feed into the little slogans and the bullshit that they put out there just to keep you going. Like, when you go on social media, you look on the internet and you see all these different, news feeds and different things of, oh, this random black person got killed today by the police. That is to instill fear within you. That is to make you feel weak. That is to make you feel helpless. That is to make you feel like, well, damn, I just got to get on the bandwagon and let me cover more of my blackness up. But what has that done? When we look at the history of our ancestors, when we look at our grandmothers and their mothers and their mothers, and we see the life that they've lived and how they tried to be conforming to the system, what has that done for them, though? It hasn't gotten them anywhere. It hasn't done anything for them. So it's like, we cannot continue to conform to a system that's not built for us. What we need to do is make sure that we find our truth, and then we create our own system within our own community of people that suffer from the same things, because we're all suffering from this corrupt system. But black people have it the worst, because they've come here and they've stripped us of all culture, all history, all truth that has to do with who we are as a people. And so that is why we continue to be stirred up and caught up in being able to be controlled and manipulated.
You don't know what to do, which way to go, and thinking that the hood is the only way out, because that's what they want you to think. Exactly. I grew up in the hood, so I understand how that mentality works. And until I moved in with my dad at the age of 17, when he lived on a completely different side of town.
Yeah.
I went from 38th in Midhopper to 86th in Michigan Road. Anybody in Indiana knows the difference between the two. And that's when I was like, oh yeah, there is another way of living. Yeah. There is more to life than just, the hood of Indianapolis or the hoods and wherever you're from. Like, we can create our own reality, but it's kind of hard when you are in these public environments, going to these public schools with these public teachers that telling you ain't gonna be shit. So you sit there and you really adopt that as your truth, and then you got your peers and your friends in your ear saying, you go, thug life, this is life, this hood is life. And so you think that that's the reality you have to live because of everybody before you did that. But it's like, we have to break away from that. We have to break that cycle and know that we are fucking excellent. Exactly. We are the creators of this universe, and it's time for us to claim our power, realize who we are, and get it together.
It's true, because this cycle is psychological. And what they're doing is playing with our minds. It's warfare. Exactly. And spiritual warfare. And then on a physical level as well. So it's like, it's so many different levels that they're able to control us. You know what I'm saying? If we give them back control. So we have to take our power back, so that way we can no longer be controlled. That was the whole point of segregation, was to take away. When we was separate, we was doing good. We had our own establishment within our own community. We didn't need nothing from them, and they wasn't feeling how powerful we was becoming. So they wanted to do the segregation, bring us all together, so that way they can manipulate
burn
and
down our
control,
businesses, burn
just
down
like
our
they
black.
do now
Yeah.
with all of these protesting, all of this. What they do is they infiltrate and they come in and they take over and control over the destination or the destiny that they're trying to take, you know what I'm saying, with that protest or whatever it is that they're doing. Just like Malcolm X, just like Dr. Martin Luther King, everybody that you know has been infiltrated by the CIA, by the FBI, by somebody that comes along and takes you away from the actual movement, take you away from what you're actually doing to try to make change. And so just on the smallest scale, that is still happening today.
And that's why we have to make sure that regardless of what you're doing, what you're pushing, but when you know what's going on and you know what your people are going through, I feel like that gives you some obligation to yourself and to your race to open their eyes. And not everybody's going to listen, not everybody's going to care, but at least you know that you're doing your part to help open people's eyes to the reality. And in doing so, when you're forming your team, you got to make sure your team is strong. You got to make sure your team is solid and ain't nobody going to crumble. Because once you get to that certain point, they're going to send their little minions and they're going to offer you a certain amount of money or a certain this or a certain that to sell out because
it's
they don't
so
want
powerful to be able to teach yourself, to learn on, and follow that intuition of what feels true to you, because there are going to be people out here that's manipulative, trying to get you to, hang on to a certain culture that is beneficial to someone other than yourself. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you definitely need to take heed to what it is that you're learning, what it is you're taking in, and not just because somebody else said this or somebody else said that. You did your own research. You know what I'm saying? You've done the studying, because that's how important it is that we have knowledge. Because when you don't have knowledge, you don't have anything. When random things happen, like Donald Trump becoming the president, and it hits you left field, you don't expect it. Knowledge would have kept you aware. Understanding and researching, knowing your history and knowing what was going on, you would have been able to see that was going to happen, that was going to transpire, because everything, that's Hollywood. Like politics is Hollywood, commercials is Hollywood, reality TV is Hollywood, everything they put on the television is Hollywood,
news is
Hollywood.
Right.
So my thing is, you have to understand, when they make these movies and they invest all this money in deception, they make all this money in a false reality.
True.
This is the Matrix. So you need to realize that the reality of it is that this is all something to put in there to keep you away from what the truth really is.
So, exactly. I feel like at the end of the day, the point of the message that we're trying to put across is love you, love all your skin, the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. Don't let nobody make you feel less of a person for loving who you are. I've noticed going into different places and establishments, the looks that people give me when I walk in with my hair done and my dreads or my scarf wrapped around my head and I'm just feeling myself and they can't handle it. They can't take it. Give them more of that shit. Exactly. Let them know. I know who I am. I'm aware of who I am. And your opinion of me is nothing but an opinion because you don't know who I am and how I operate. So it's like we need to show for ourselves, how great we are. And I remember somebody told me one day, well, there ain't no pay in that. I'm not looking for pay. I'm looking to let people know that not all black people are the same. Even black people know that there's a difference between black people and niggas. So it's like, we need to realize who we are, know where we came from, and not feel any type of way for being proud of being black and being proud of being who we are. There's nothing wrong with that. You can love who you are in your religion, your culture, and still have love for other races. So we don't have to feel like, oh, well, I'm showing too much black pride. They're going to probably think, I'm on some old racist ass shit. Well, everybody else is on some racist shit every day, B. And as long as you're empowering yourself and loving yourself and raising the vibration of you and the people around you and feeding people with the knowledge to help grow their brains and minds to a better place, who cares what people think?
It's true. And it's all about your energy as well. The energy that you carry around with you every day takes you a long way, because one thing I can say is I always carry my God in me, and I always walk around with my goddess presence. And one thing I can say is that I don't really have too many racist situations, or people hate me. Like, I always see people who show admiration because it's a certain energy that you carry around. There's gonna be people who have a funny look because sometimes people have their own insecurities and whatever. So you don't get caught up in that. You don't allow people to get you tied up into what they thinking about you. The main thing is making sure your energy is in the right place. And when you have love, self-love, and when you have love for your brother, that's going to carry around with you every day, and that's going to shut anybody, any envy, any hate down, because you're not even paying attention to that. So at the end of the day, you keep your energy right. Like you said, you love your people. You show, what it is to be proud, to be who you are, knowing what you can do, knowing your true power, and that is going to take you far. So on that note, we want to send everybody peace and love. Thank you for another episode of Intellectual Dopeness.